and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I'm Tuesday, and I write fantasy fiction under the name Mary E. Twomey. Today, we're going to be reading the next chapter in my book called Taste. Taste is book 1 in the Tearaway series, and Tearaway is 9 books long. We're only going to read book 1 together, and then you can decide if you want to pick up the rest of the series and read it for yourself. Today, we're going to read chapter 21, Home, Sweet, Not My House. When the stale air of the concrete basement I'd been held in filled my nostrils, I gulped it down like it was the sweetest smell on earth. The sucking sensation threw Vaughn off balance, so he collapsed onto the floor that reformed underneath our feet. Prince Langham was ready. His hand underneath me served as a quick trade-off when Vaughn's knees gave out, shifting me into the muddy arms of the man who'd abducted me for all the right reasons. I'd not been held much as a child, and certainly never as an adult. Being so high off the ground and positioned like a damsel made me blush with chagrin and temper. I struggled to get down after a few steadying breaths. I heard shouts of, "Put her down! Let her go! And what have you done?" But I was too weak to extract myself from the strong arms that held me tight. "I returned her just fine," Langham huffed, setting me down and letting my legs buckle beneath me. Ezra rushed to my side and helped me to sit up. A hand was rubbing my shoulder while another was bending my head forward between my bent knees to help me with my hyperventilation. "Breathe, darling, just breathe. You're safe here." I wanted all the hands off me, but they remained in place to support my sagging form. Ezra barked up at Langham. "The council is starting to assemble upstairs. Make yourself useful. Go be diplomatic with them. Get them to calm down and explain that we've found the omen. I'll deal with you later when I have time for a proper debasement." "She has the Sagrado Stone," Langham announced, and Ezra stiffened. "My minions saw her touch it, and she still draws breath. She can end it, Ezra." Ezra shook his head. "Then perhaps kidnapping our most valuable asset wasn't your best move." Lang's jaw tightened. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Go on, then. I'm afraid if I keep looking at you, I'll just go." I was exhausted and leaned into the arms that radiated safety and warmth, not caring that I ruined Ezra's country club clothing with the mud that coated too much of me. He hugged me, and the kindness was so confusing that I had to cover my mouth to stifle a tearless sob before it escaped. He held me tighter, which almost squeezed a tear right out of me. He smelled like I always imagined a dad would, like sweaters and aftershave. His arms were strong, but somehow non-threatening. I hated that the second feeling came back into my fingertips. They sought out the shelter Ezra provided. I clung to him. I was afraid of him, sure, but more afraid of someone taking me from him before I could figure out which way was up. "Told you I'd get us out of there, Peach," Vaughn called from the floor to my left. "Vaughn Vandershot, king of all the things." Mason moved to his side and righted his friend, shooting me furtive glances. It was as if Mason wanted to help me, but knew he'd roughed me up too much for me to trust him when I was vulnerable. "Lady October, are you hurt?" "How can you even ask me that?" I sucked down my real answer and took a few more breaths before replaying with a feeble, "I'm fine, I just want to go home." "Of course," Ezra crooned, rocking me against him as if I was a child. As if I was his child. His voice was soothing, almost like a song of solace that drew me closer to the haven I'd been living for far too long without. It was a luxury, and I knew I was being a glutton. I gently pulled away, grateful I was finally stable enough to sit up without assistance. "And getting you all dirty." Ezra remained beside me on the concrete floor, not shying away from the muddy mess that my clothes were, the filthy mess that I was. "I don't care about the mud. I care about what happened. Where did Prince Langham take you?" Vaughn rubbed his temples. "To Sakuna. He wanted to show the new girl what she was working for. He's got a message for her and Mariang and you, I guess," he said to Ezra, finally standing. "King Jian's done waiting. If October doesn't start turning over high numbers soon, they're going to force the pregnant women to eat the Patayan root." so they all lose their babies. And if it's still bad, they'll kill all the babies under 2. Then the prisoners, then the elderly. You get the picture. Prince Langham wanted her to see what was at stake. Mason was flexing his hands as if to ready himself for a fight in case anyone else showed up to abduct me. I was caught off my guard. That won't happen again. I let Ezra pull me up on rubbery legs and leaned on him, despite myself. My voice was quiet as I addressed the men who all wore various shades of the same grave expression. Look, I'll help however I can, but I'm tapped out for tonight. I'm going home before I have to kill anyone else, take anyone else's soul, or before I get felt up or abducted again. I can't. This is too much. Ezra motioned to the stairs. I insist you rest a bit before you go. There's much to discuss. The heads of the 7 nations are assembling upstairs right now. They need to meet you, to know their futures will be secure. And then there's this matter of the Sagrado Stone that needs to be investigated. I'm disgusting. I'm not having a sit down with anyone like this. I had mud up to my hips, caking my jeans. Poor Pee Wee Herman's face was obscured in brown goo on my shirt. I have to go home and wash up. I'll deal with you all tomorrow. Ezra shook his head. I insist you wash up here, if that would make you more comfortable. Vaughn, you clean up too. Then we can all sit down together and form a plan. The thought of showering in the stranger's house was unnerving, but so was staining up the perfect interior of Terence the Taurus. Okay, thanks. My feet were heavy as I moved toward the steps. I jumped when Vaughn came to my side, wrapping an arm around my waist. He didn't have that playboy bravado this time, but a sincere willingness to help me in my weakened state. I didn't understand why I didn't shove him roughly away, and blamed it on the lack of oxygen impeding higher brain function. I think I can make it, but thanks. I was going to trot upstairs myself. You're merely escorting me. As a matter of fact, I carried you last. It's your turn to hoist me up in your arms. I blinked up at him, knowing he was helping me to save face. It was sweet. I'm really fine. Thanks, though. Go figure stuff out with Ezra. All right, yell if you need anything. Will do. And thanks for staying cool down there. You really did save the day. Vaughn Vandershot, king of all the things indeed. Vaughn softened, sending his smile out to match mine. Anytime, love. I swallowed the last of my hesitation to delay showering in a stranger's bathroom and started back up the stairs. 2. I made it up exactly 2 more stairs before my knees gave out on me. That's right, I'm a ninja. Mason and Vaughn ran to help me. I tried to refuse on my newly acquired principle of not accepting assistance from people who dealt in machetes and underworld affairs, but I had little choice in the matter now. The oxygen had been sucked out of me in Sakuna, and my body was still being a wuss about it. Easy now. Let us help you. I'm fine. Just clumsy. I tried to army crawl up the steps, but knew that even if I made it all the way up, it would not be enough to save my pride. Mason's nose crinkled. What are you... Is it possible anyone is this stubborn? This time, I didn't resist when Mason reached down and pulled me up. I wanted to, but I didn't have the strength. His arm around my hips supported me while his hand, gripping mine, guided my path. Steady now, Mason said dubiously as he walked my trembling form up 2 flights of stairs to a bathroom where I could lock myself inside. When I was finally clean enough to breathe without wanting to claw my skin off, I turned the shower off and sighed at the muddied clothing I really didn't have the heart to put back on. A dainty fist knocked on the door as if in answer to my conundrum. October? October Grace? It's Mary Ann. I have some clean clothes for you. May I come in? Okay. Thanks. I stayed in the shower until she left, though I could tell by her hesitant steps that she wanted to talk to me. When I was alone again, I stepped out and slipped on a pair of designer jeans with the tags still on, in my exact size. underwear still in the package, and a fitted green cotton polo that hugged my curves like I was trying to show off, which I wasn't. I wound my hair in a messy bun atop my head and slid on the new socks and shoes. My nerves built with every step I took outside of the bathroom door towards the exit. Why did the new clothes fit perfectly? Mary Ann looked a solid size 2, and I was curvier than that. Normally my skin would be crawling at the thought of wearing someone else's clothes, but since they were unworn with the tags on, I saved my freak out for the big stuff. Like, a man abducting me, my new family tying me to a chair, or the whole soul-reaping extravaganza. Mary Ann met me in the hallway and crashed into me with a hug before I could properly brace myself. We were so worried. We didn't know where he'd taken you. Are you all right? Dad's been yelling at Prince Langham ever since you got back. She released me just as I was about to hyperventilate at the close contact. They're all in the conference room. It's one of the few areas the bugs didn't get to during the fight. She didn't need me to comply. She walked knowing that I would follow. For such a dainty person, she possessed a whole lot of power. Before we went into the first floor room that was shut with overlarge double doors, Mary Ann turned toward me. I generally bow out of council meetings, but if you need, I'll come in with you. What is the council? Mary Ann licked her lips in thought, remembering I knew next to nothing about their world. It's the rulers of the 7 nations, or their delegates, plus other officials who speak for their respective races. They don't care for women sitting at the table, so even though omens are technically part of the council, I don't attend many meetings. Not everyone gets along. It can be stressful when they start arguing for hours. Hours? Oh geez. Thanks for the heads up. I replayed Ollie's advice to me that had seen me through many an uncertain moment where I'd gotten in over my head. Keep your head up. Take it slow. And that brings us to the end of chapter 21. Next Tuesday, I will read you chapter 22. Every Tuesday will be a new chapter. I'm very excited that we're doing this together. I'm kind of proud of myself. I kind of thought I would crap out halfway through, but I'm slightly more than halfway through now, and I have not crapped out yet, which is great. Cannot tell you how many half-written series I have where I was like, this sounded like a really good idea at the time, and then realized it was maybe not so much. So thank you for being gracious with me and accepting my mistakes and spending some time with me. And I will see you next Tuesday for the next episode of Tuesdays with Tuesday.